Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Broman Clash, and today I want to give my topic on a particular subject that I've been seeing, and you could say it's somewhat comparable to like what happened with Caitlyn Jenner, but except it involves race. And yes, I'm going to talk about the Rachel Dolezal, incident or controversy because I've always I wanted to talk about this, and the Rant Kid talked about it in his bit. And if you want to listen to him, you can slide over to his channel. It's the Rant Kid or David Bendit, and you can check it out. Or you can look at it in my channel and you see David Bendit. Check it out. That's one of his latest rants. But anyways, the reason why I want to talk about this subject is because there's a bit of a history behind it. But in all means, I am not defending her. The reason why I'm not defending her is because incidentally she doesn't know the struggle of a black woman. She doesn't even know how a black woman came to be. And it's very funny because when somebody asks her the question, are you African American? And she says, I don't understand the question. While in a more artistic sense, you get in a more like, not even nationalistic sense, but in a more like historical sense, you can understand like, okay, maybe she doesn't understand the question because that's because the name African American, because how could you be African and American at the same time? You have to choose one and not be and disregard the other. See, look, when you're African, you know who you are, you know your history, you know your culture. You see, look, some of you may say, but I don't know which tribe I come from, I don't know which part of Africa I come from. Let me tell you something. See, look, now this ties in with Rachel Dolezal, identifying herself as black. And then it goes in tie in with blackface. Now, I'm just gonna keep it real with you, and I'm gonna talk about the African struggle and the African history. Now, when it comes right down to the African struggle and the African history, see when you deal with African history, you have to remember three things: the struggle, the people, and the movement. See, to remember the struggle, meaning that you have to remember, the Middle Passage, slave rebellions, getting brutalized, beaten out in the street, beaten in the cotton fields, women getting raped, children getting stomped on, even to the point, like, if she heard all this, man, she would be like, how come I never heard all this before? And the only thing that we're gonna say is this. See, look, is the same thing. The only reason why we didn't hear about it before, unless you've been taught in an indoctrinated system. Now, see, and then the movement. The movement comes into play because it shows that we were willing to overcome, overrise, uprise, and actually become a people that deserves and commands and demands respect. Now, that's beautiful. But the third option, when it comes right down to it, the third option, when it comes right down to it, you have to remember who you are. You have to remember your culture. Because as soon as you forget your culture, your oppressor will make you remember their own culture. Now, it's very funny. Like I always say, you see that TV right there? You see that? The TV? They'll try to teach you how to be a black person on that, than to be a black person through experience, through learning, through reading, and especially through listening through lectures and understanding through black intellectuals. Not, black bourgeoisies that talk about, oh yes, this is what it means to be black, while acting like a goddamn white man. You're just a white man with a damn black face. And she's just a white woman with a damn black face on. Matter of fact, she don't even have a black face. She just have a bad tan. I know that's messed up, y'all. But it ties in with her trying to say that she identifies herself as black. See, look, now this goes back into when I look at history and how the way the Plessy versus Ferguson incident. Well, even though that was entirely different, but it did prove something that it really did hit me hard. But the reason why I'm bringing up Plessy versus Ferguson is because she mentioned that she could be like, she could have like black blood, but there were black people who passed for white, and she says that she's a white woman She says that she's a black woman, but yet she has overly Eurocentric features. But I'm gonna bring up, Homer Plessy, Homer Plessy, a former, I believe he was a former slave. Oh no, or was that Dred Scott? But he wanted to go on the white section of the train car, and this was back in like 1896, and this was a court case. But some of you can correct me on that one. But the reason why I mentioned the Plessy versus Ferguson was this because this man, he had it was something in America called the one drop rule. If you have one drop of black inside of you, this was back then. If you have one drop of black inside of you, you are black. And the same thing goes for like Hispanics, Spanish speaking blacks, until they identify, until they come up with like this racial core where it was just like, yeah, this is where things come into play. Yeah, I don't want to identify myself as African or black. I'm Hispanic, even though you're just a Spanish-speaking African. So now, how does Plessy versus Ferguson come into play? Because because the way they describe Homer Plessy was the fact that he had very pale, he had like close to white skin, he could pass for white, but yet he still has some Africanoid features. Some people even say like just by looking at his feet, he had like African features, and they deemed separate but equal constitutional. Now, here was a black man trying to pass off as white, but it didn't go off well, especially during that time in America. But then some of you may ask, how does this tie in, with Rachel Dolezal? Or how does this tie in, with anything else? Well, let's put it like this. Trans race, you think you are like one particular race, but yeah, you're not. Well, let's just say that's been going on for quite some time, because there were some white people who thought they were black. And I remember listening to this in a documentary, like in a lecture or an interview, or like a documentary that mentioned that the reason why some white people play themselves as black or play themselves as, African in nature is because they felt as if like, wait a minute, if I identify myself as, with my people, I'm gonna look like a crook. And that's not good, man. Sometimes, see, look, I'm gonna keep it real with you, man. There's a reason why the Black Panthers say all power to the people, white power to white people, brown power to brown people, yellow power to yellow people, red power to red people, and black power to black people, all power to the people. That means you should not be ashamed of who you are, despite your people's flaws and your downfalls. Now, denial right there of who you are, because you want to identify with a people that you think you understand, you think you know the culture, you think you know the history, but you cannot understand that, because honestly, how can you say that, yo, I'm black? Yes, I may be white, but mentally and internally, I am black. And it's very funny because she's not the only one that did this. I remember it was like on a Bill Cunningham show, or was it some other talk show, that there was a black man who married a white woman. And she had braids and all that crap, man. She said, even though I am white, she blatantly admitted that she was white. But this is not Rachel Dolezal. But this is like a different woman. She said, even though I am white, but identify myself as black. And it's very funny because the black man's sister said, like, no, I'm not going to allow my brother. And yes, the black man's, like I said, black man's sister, meaning that they are blood relatives. I would not allow him to go out with a white woman or even have children. So I spike, her drink with something that will, kill off the babies and all that crap. And I'm just like, man, that's messed up. But the overarching thing about why, when I look at that, it was just like, wait a minute. Why would you want to identify yourself as a people? What, do you want sympathy? Do you want to look good in front of the people? Do you want to make the people believe in you because you can't believe in yourself? Now that's a separate incident, but it also ties in, Rachel Dolezal, because with Rachel Dolezal, it's pretty much funny, but yet at the same time sad, because it shows that, you know, when it comes right down to it, you can't say I'm trans race. You can't. Some of you may say that transgender exists, so why can't trans race exist? And I can understand that, and that's the funny thing about the double standard in America. You can be transgender, but yet you can't be trans race. But now, that's just me pointing out a bit of a flaw right there. But at the same time, the reason why I disagree with what she's doing, and I disagree with how the way it's getting out there, is because of this one reason only. Because if you understand the history of the people, and you understand the struggle, and you understand the outcry, and you understand everything else, you will understand why, if you say I am black, I am everything, I am black, I am African, I am here now, I'm here forever, you would have to say that you would have to take responsibility in the struggle. You have to take responsibility and stand up for your people, or help them stand up. Because, from what I'm getting, and some of you are going to shoot me out for this, but, I'm going to find this quite funny. But honestly, when I see her, I didn't see her, out there, out there in Baltimore, out there what happened with Walter Scott, Freddie Gray. I didn't hear her speak out when it came right down to Michael Brown. I didn't hear her speak out. NAACP. How come I didn't hear them speak out about it? But yet they say they're the advancement for colored people. Yeah, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Man, that's bullshit. Because if you want me to be honest, as much as I respect historical perspective of what's going on, as much as I respect, what they were trying to do and what the hell they were trying to be, but at the same time, they were just nothing more than just a white organization with a damn black face. And Rachel Dolezal blatantly represents that, represents the NAACP, just a white person with a damn black face, a white organization with a damn black face. But when you look at the Nation of Islam, now, this is going to be something completely different, but it also connects. When you look at the Nation of Islam, the Black Panther Party, not white kids that say they're the Black Panthers, no. No, the Black Panther Party, you look at the Bloods, the Crips. See, look, now some of you may say, like, Bloods and Crips, how does that tie in? Because the original intent of the Bloods and Crips, like I mentioned before in my take on the Baltimore riot, the original intent of the Bloods and Crips were to be offshoots of the Panthers, meaning that they were supposed to help their people, not kill them. And the reason why they are killing each other is because of what? Because of one damn lie. One damn lie and one damn genocide. They want to, it's not each other, it's not the fact that they want to kill each other because they hate each other, it's the fact that they don't know who the real enemy is. And as soon as they figure out and calm down, that's when you see true brotherhood. So now when I look at the Nation of Islam, when I look at the Black Panthers, back then, maybe still now, Crips, Bloods, and you look at, black organizations like they call themselves the Deacons of Justice or something like that, or the Black Guerrilla Family. They're coming, like in Baltimore, they're coming together and they're saying, like, you know what, man, we gotta stop this. We're gonna call a truce, and we gotta make sure our people are safe. Now, when you look at that, and you see that, strong black people. Sure, you may say that there are some white Crips and some white Bloods, Hispanic Crips, Hispanic Bloods, Spanish Crips, Spanish Bloods. Some of you may say that, but the overarching theme is the fact that if you see, a standing order of black men or anything of black orientation, especially when it comes right down to, black lives, and they speak out about it and they're talking about it and they're dealing with it, you realize that, wait a minute, these people are legitimate because they're not out there, trying to look nice, trying to look good in front of the damn TV. That bullshit right there. They're not trying to look good in front of that. They're doing it because they really legitimately see a problem. And you want to know what the real funny part is? It's the fact that the NAACP, for all we know and care about, or for all we don't know, we haven't really seen them talking about all of this. We haven't really seen them, talking about what happened to Michael Brown. We haven't really seen them talking about, oh yeah, this is what's really going on. They weren't out there in the thicket of the riot. They weren't out there in the thicket of the violence. They were, if anything, some of them were probably even talking down on it, just like Barack Obama. And have the nerve to call, our people thugs and criminals. But the one thing I will give my take on this is the fact that Rachel Dolezal is a representation, and I disagree with that representation. And I'm glad that she stepped down, but yet at the same time, it's very funny because how the hell can you say that you represent a people, a colored people, but yet you won't partake in the struggle? You won't even understand the struggle or the meaning or the context. And to make matters even funnier, and this is gonna be very funny, and some of you may not agree with me when I say this, but some of us also have racial Dolezal inside of us as well, because some black people actually think they are white. And no, it's not like the same thing as, Plessy versus Ferguson, where it was a case of, genetics. It's more, and it wasn't the case of genetics, but it was more about, racial identity and, mental identity. Now, the genetic side is different. And, some people say, like, her family could be more than likely adopted her. And now she's spreading all these lies. Yeah, man, they say about white people lying. Now I'm just gonna leave them alone. Nah, but honestly, man, I'm just gonna keep it real. When you look at the mental of what happened, especially when it came right down to us as a people, and the fact that when you look at people who have like a higher melanin count than of those of a paler complexion, some people like me, or some people that are darker than me, lighter than me, some of them actually think they are legitimately white because either they come from a higher neighborhood, they came from college, they came from office, they're either middle class or bourgeoisie, or the bourgeois, as you want to be called, or as some of our people call it from the hood, bougie, or they're rich. So they have like a white mentality about them. And if you want a straight up notable example, as much as I love the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and especially represented like a very beautiful, brilliant, and wholesome black family, but they also show off the fact that they are whitewashed to the damn core. And some of you may say, how does this tie in with Rachel Dolezal, Dolezal in the first place? Because now I'm just gonna keep it real with you. This ties in greatly because it also deals with racial mentality and racial identity. Now, you don't have to follow a fucking stereotype in order to identify yourself as a people. You don't need to have, corn braids. You don't need to have dreadlocks. You don't need to have, the big beard. You don't need to, speak the lingo. You don't need to do all that shit. And sometimes you don't even really need to wear these colors. But the reason why I wear them is because of cultural and historical significance, especially of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Now, the problem is this. If you really look at her, she just looks like a white person with a bad tan. And the fact that she's trying to, what was the word? She's trying to pass herself off as black. And she did it for 37 years too. And you want to know what's funny? There were some black people who could pass off as white. But the reason why, it's almost sounds as if, some of you may say, but class, this almost sounds as if you're trying to defend her. But if you really think about it, I'm not. The reason why I'm not defending her is because she doesn't understand the significance. She's trying to reap the benefits, but not the struggle. You can't be a part of the people if you're just a fucking leech. And that's what I'm talking about. Some people who say, yo, I identify with black people. Are you doing it because you generally identify with us, or are you doing it because you just want to leech off of us, or you just want to look good? Like those some people in Black Lives Matter, especially some of those in protests, especially peaceful protesters and the black community. And then you got some white people that'll say, "Yeah, I identify with the black people's struggle. I identify with them." But here's one thing I don't agree with. If you're gonna say that you identify with the people and you identify with the struggle, but you choose not to partake in the struggle, you choose not to talk about it, you choose not to even delve right into it, that shows that you're nothing but a leech. And what does a leech do? Suck out the essence and the life force of a host. And then once it's fed enough and the host feels weak, they'll just take themselves off. And then discard them like a damn husk. And the reason why I mentioned the fact that she's trying to reap the rewards of a black woman, but not understand the struggles of a black woman, because a black woman, you gotta understand. See, look, sure you may say like, oh, this is how black women typically look like, and this is how they typically act, on TV, magazines, and all that bullshit. But let me tell you something. That's not how a black woman acts. A black woman has integrity. She has dignity. She's proud of herself. She has confidence. She has beauty. She doesn't fake it, even though some do. She knows herself, even though some don't. But most of all, she loves her people. And some of you may say, so does Rachel Dolezal. But here's another thing too. Does she really love the people? Or does she love the benefits that come from loving the people? Such as, I remember I read something somewhere before that it mentioned that she actually did get like a scholarship that was meant for black women, meant for a black woman to go into Howard University. And the funny thing about that is the fact that she passed for black for 37 years. And she managed to get a scholarship that was meant for black women only. And then she has the nerve to try to sue the school from barring her teaching. But it's very funny because it's just like, wait a minute. She tried to reap the benefit that our people are supposed to have. And then now it goes downhill from there. And then now she's trying to sprout up how the way, her brother was molesting a child or something like that. And, making up these outrageous stories. And then to make matters even funnier, because if she had a chance to live at least like 3 years as a legitimate black person, sometimes being avoided, sometimes being scoffed at, overall being ignored, being misrepresented on the media, being misrepresented, through magazines, even to the point like Japanese people actually think putting on like a heavy ass tan, having like an afro. See, look, there's nothing wrong with the afro now. But, having the stereotype thrust at you, the negative stereotypes, thrust at you, looked at you, bring you down. And then, not understanding that if you abandon your people and you try to say that living in a white suburban neighborhood, now don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with moving out, exploring the world. But at the same time, if you do it as an escape mechanism, that does not make things even better. And escapism only further deviate yourself away from your own people. Now, it's funny because I mentioned the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Don't get me wrong. I love the show. I love the humor. I love the representation of a black family. I love the representation of a black strong father figure, and showing off the fact that there are people in your family that generally love you. But the fact that you have a black son, and I remember it was funny because in a flashback episode of when it talked about Uncle Phil's son, it was Carlton. He asked, you gonna be the first black president? He said, I'm black. Maybe, that was a kid, he didn't understand the concept of race, but it also spoke volumes. And then You grow up and then you see, Carlton, Hillary. Well, actually, not so much. But then you add, somebody who's from the streets, who's from, the ghettos, as some of them will call it, or, low income or urban neighborhoods, going to like white suburbia. And then you add them into the mix. And then you really see the difference. You're just like, whoa, wait a minute. These are just a bunch of petty bourgeoisie black people who actually think that they are white. They speak with, yes, I speak with that very cultural, very sounding voice. Yeah, they sound like that. They try to sound like they're uppity. But it's like until the very end you realize that they understood each other. So I'm gonna give that a pass. But in the beginning, you realize the difference so greatly that it was just like, wait a minute, they both look the same. So how come they acting like they're trying to forget each other? And that still goes on to this very day. Now, this is not entirely an attack on, my people, but it also goes to show like the racial mentality or, how the way Rachel, like I mentioned before about Rachel Dolezal, and don't worry, I'm not defending her. I'm just giving out examples on like how people can counteract and how people can say like, look at this. But at the same time, I'm also providing a bit of like an historical knowledge on like why this happened, on like why this is going on. Now, when you really look at it and how the way I mentioned about blackface, like white people smearing tar, smearing like shoe shine on their face, trying to pass themselves off as black actors, even though they have the white nose, the overall thin face, the crystal clear blue eyes, overall that, and then they have the nerve to try to shoe shine their hair to make it look like us. And it's very funny. And it's very funny too because it also talks about it also deals it's also very culturally ingrained in America, even to the point that people think that what they see on TV is what you get. You have white kids talking about, oh yeah, yeah, what's up, my nigga? What's up, my nigga? Man, let a white kid call me a nigga. I'll crack him. Maybe not, but more than likely, I would just be like, come here, come here. What'd you call me? Do you know the historical significance of that damn word? And you saying it so lightly? What, you following the TV? Wait, you want to get educated? You want to learn about my history? That's what I'll first do. I won't crack him at an instant. But if he does it in an antagonistic way where he's like, yo, get down there, you bloody nigga. I was like, oh, really? Bah! Crack him inside his damn skull. He'd be like, oh, yeah, I bet you won't call me that again. And Rachel Dolezal, she probably never even had that happen to her. She probably never had to deal with the fact that, getting constantly looked down upon because of a damn stereotype. She never had to deal with the fact that, a society already basically labeled you as a person, even before you even hit the womb. Just when you're in your pops, groins. And before you're in your pop's groins and you didn't even hit your mom's eggs yet. Like, come on. And then she goes on saying, like, I identify myself as black. Oh, really? Let a police officer come up to you. And if they act real peaceful and, you're really compliant, okay, they'll let you off. But if they say, and they start whooping your ass, and you say, no, I'm not black, I'm white. I remember something from Sankofa. And it was funny because it was a black woman saying that I'm not those Africans, I'm black. And I was just like, oh man. And when they look at you in that skin color, they say, nope, you're a nigga and Negro just like the rest of them. So stay your ass over there. And some of you may say, why am I bringing in, the black experience or the black culture or the black, struggle into Rachel Dolezal. And the reason why I'm bringing this into it is because she probably doesn't understand the full graven context of what the hell happened to, my people or our people if she identifies herself as, as a person of African descent. Now, one thing I do disagree with, and I disagree with wholly, how the hell can you say that you're trans race? Sure, we may have mulatto, sure, we may have octoroons, sure, we may have, mestizo, sure, we may have, all these other classifications of race, of people of different races, and, it's very funny because it goes to show that people really do identify with themselves on who they really are. But the reason why I disagree with, Rachel Dolezal is because she doesn't understand the full historical context. She doesn't understand, the history of how racism, began. She doesn't understand, how racism starts out first as, originally as a business tactic, then it transitioned into a lifestyle. And then that lifestyle, ironic, as horrible as it was, intertwined with our lives. And then now it becomes real sad when Rachel Dolezal looks at this and says, like, you know what, man? Yes, I'm black. Don't say that lightly. Don't say you are black lightly. Because if you say that you are black, be prepared to struggle with us. See, it's funny because I remember this. Everybody loves saying that they are black. Everybody loves saying that, I'm black, I'm black, I'm black. But when it comes right down to time, no, to say and act black. But when it comes right down to doing and actually being black, let's see how many black people are actually out there. And that includes all the black faces out there too. Just because you're a black face in a high place, remember, you're still black. And if you're not struggling with us, then guess what? You are our enemy. Or even talking about the struggle in a more historically inclined context. And to make matters, even crazier, like I said before, Rachel Dolezal, to me, she represents, what the NAACP stands for. Basically, just a white organization with a damn black face. She's just like she's the she's the mascot. That's what she is. She's the mascot. And to make matters, even sadder, is the fact that, it hasn't changed since it began. This whole trans race thing, this whole race thing. Race is so ingrained into America. You think all this other shit is ingrained in America. Man, discrimination, segregation, and exploitation, they are integrated in America's fiber so well and so greatly that in essence it didn't change. And this is where things get really funny and really sad. Because, honestly, some people are just like Rachel Dolezal, except, they try to identify themselves as somebody else other than who the hell they really are. And just because your people are losing doesn't necessarily mean you should give up on your own people. And that is a life lesson. Don't give up because times are getting hard. Don't be a leech. Don't be like Rachel Dolezal. Don't do that. Don't try to identify yourself as a people so you can reap the benefits. If you identify yourself with another culture and you understand that culture very well, then okay. You're in love and you understand that culture. But if you identify yourself with the people on a whim, instead of understanding the people and then saying, yes, I can fully identify myself as these people, then you're just a leech. You're sucking the people's morale dry. And overall, just a bad influence. And with that, YouTube, this is my take on Rachel Dolezal. I'm glad that she stepped down. especially during this whole incident. But truth be told, man, she should not have done that because being a leech, especially towards a struggling people, especially towards a people that has been struggling for goddamn years, not even decades, centuries, in this goddamn wilderness in America, she should at least understand, the context of what the hell's going on. And like I always say, I want that one, love y'all. Like, share, subscribe if you want to. That's your choice. And if you agree, then you agree. If you disagree, well, I can't help you. You just disagree. This is Bro Man Flash. Out.